Okay. Hello, everyone. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to today's episode. The title is Rekindling a New Archetypal Honor with Relationships. I wanted to speak about the concept of archetypes and how they can be, in some sense, extracted from one's unconscious, and also how that there's a sort of programming thing going on in the human psychology that unless it completes an event, it cannot move on to certain dimensions of itself. In the subtitle, which there wasn't room in the title of the YouTube video, I've written it in the description. I've written Cultivating Selfhood Beyond Culture. So in this episode, similar to all the episodes, I'm not just wondering about how we know ourselves and how we know our world, but in some sense how there is an unknown self and an unknown world at work. I want to read for the audience, those listening who may not be familiar with Jungian psychology, literally the definition of an archetype. A primitive mental image inherited from the earliest human ancestors and supposed to be present in the collective unconscious. Okay, I can't work with this song. This song might be better. Okay, yeah. I'll begin with the notion of, I'll start with Jordan Peterson, who's a very unique speaker, and he brought up a very interesting point about the idea of the Father in Christianity. And he suggested that it was the closest archetype that in some sense Christ could find to explain something. Archetypes are unknown senses of self, and the collective unconscious is the unknown world, to simplify it, at least through my lens. Now, a person who is influenced by archetypes, they're influenced by not just the sense of self they need to access many of the archetypes. That means if you're not a human child, or in some sense if you're not even born in a human manifestation, you can't have the archetype of a human father, human mother. You see, that requires a position and then relationships to that position. Now, even though I say archetypal honor, one can say the honorable human being, one can see that as an archetype. So I would say that right now, for example, if I were to use myself, my awareness in this moment, conscious moment, this is my consciousness. Now there are archetypes that were unconscious that became conscious. Think of it, even, I mean, I'm kind of generalizing here, but there is a space. The consciousness is the candle glow. Archetypes are potential ways this candle can glow, and it doesn't know yet. Or one can say it's other candles in the room it can't see. They're too far from it. When I think about mortality and being a mortal creature, that comes across to me as an archetype. When I think about immortality, that comes to me as an archetype. But when I consider eternity, that can't be an archetype. A major difference between the word immortality and eternity. Immortality has a relationship with time. Eternity doesn't. Eternity is beyond. Even though we say something may take till eternity, but eternity is in some sense timeless. Immortality or mortality is a response to time. So we can say there's technically two types of infinite experience. An infinite experience that was infinite from the beginning, an infinite experience that is in the finite and has found a way to remain in the finite. You know? Sometimes I wonder, what does that imply when Carl Jung says these archetypes are in the collective unconscious? That means what I don't know and what you don't know in that space, what everybody doesn't know. You know, there's important symbolic humanization positions. Humanized positions. Our consciousness is the first world we find ourselves in. The second world we find ourselves in is the world where the consciousness realizes its edge. That is, believe it or not, a different state of mind. That means imagine somebody at the edge of an airplane about to skydive. Somebody right at the plane about to, like in the plane, who hasn't skydived yet, and somebody was jumped into the sky. The true mystery of our realms require a lot of human beings to dive into new skies, to use the novelty of their sight and serve the only living civilization they know for now. The first task of human civilization is to ground. That means we want to build our headquarters. That means any sort of advancement. Imagine you were a king or queen listening to me back in the day, you know. As a king or queen, what is your mentality? Your mentality is to expand the empire, but in the middle of your expansion of the empire, there comes the consideration of humanity. That means we don't realize how much communication has changed us from an animal. If you take communication away, there's so many animals silently moving. Really, it's our communication and ability to communicate and use language in such a sophisticated way compared to all the other species on this planet that we are considering ourselves more than our animal instincts. And people nowadays, I mean, people in the New Age community don't realize it took them 4.5 billion years. It took them, it took us a while to just be able to fathom an identification with space. Because look at what has happened in the world. This self, a creature emerged in a world, so there's a self in a world. Now what can this self do? This self can believe in itself, it can believe in the world, It can believe in others in the world. It can believe beyond the world. That takes two crossroads. What is excuse me? What is beyond the world is either void. That is technically emptiness. Is not worldly. Is not a worldly concept. That means the way we have connected the world to emptiness is you know, there are different angles to that, but I'm saying emptiness and infinity. That means if any human being or any creature that has opened its eyes in a humanized position and wants to transition, it's all about the relationship the self has with the world. If your sense of self doesn't trust the world, you are ignoring the intelligence of the planet, literally. Not the planet, the universal sector. There's an intelligence here. I don't know what it is. I've kind of narrowed it down in my metaphysics as there's a speaker at the center of the universe. There's like music is being played too loud, and that echo of that music is consciousness. Because check this out, waves transition quickly. Let's say we become an advanced civilization and we want to overpopulate, we want to create the potential, we want to share the seed of life everywhere, right? Without us actually traveling there, because we can't. So we as a species, in order to, let's say, continue human intelligence, this really goes to when we become a type 2 civilization. A type 2 civilization is a civilization that harnesses the power of its sun. So if we could just think about it, an advanced civilization, there's stars that are randomly throwing light everywhere, and advanced whatever kind of you know, it's hilarious. I don't want to say humanoid, I don't want to say extraterrestrial, you know, all I can say is oid. You know, it's like whatever oid. This is a ridiculous word to create, but spaceoid. An advanced civilization would use the sun as a broadcasting mechanism for the potential of intelligence. I feel there is geometrical, like, let me tell you how human intelligence is designed on this planet. We feel it's just from evolution. We feel it's like something got, like an engine started. We feel it was time that sculpted the human design. And a very long time. That is the evolutionary angle. But for me, I see something else. For me, something can't be ignored. Something that regardless, and it's not, I'm not even being poetic, regardless, all our ancestors shared. All of our ancestors, every living human being on this planet, even creature, every creature on this planet has experienced. What is this? The absence of light. That means on, off, on, off. Just look at how many systems on this planet is just because of this relationship. In religion, when the person goes closer to the truth, the light of the angels, oh my God, you know, and when somebody does something evil, we say that was dark. You know, look at our language, it's giving it away. The clues are everywhere. The clues to what is going on in this realm are everywhere. In the same way, when we understand an atom, we can comprehend an atom everywhere. But anyways, I'll go back to this notion. I call this the on and off switch effect. And so light and its absence has been sculpting human psychology. Sculpting all psychology, right? When it gets dark, we fear. When there's light, oh my God, hope, sunshine, you know? It's as if things are coming to life. But when the light goes away, they are in their coldness. It's as if the sun gives you a little bit of heat and it's like, hold on to this until tomorrow. Yeah. So I feel inside light beams, this is a very uncommon thing I'm saying. This is in my own school of thought. So You know, people are open to judge it, but I feel that light harbors geometrical information that was programmed into the sun. I feel the sun, I mean, aside from just planets hovering in the middle of nowhere, we're like, oh my god, that's so weird, you know, and then it's as if inside the planet, inside celestial objects that are gas, we have a sort of clarity, but the inside of our earth, and I'll tell you something very, very interesting. In one talk, I remember saying the inside of our earth is in another dimension. That means as we go within, we find the unconditional and the attributeless. Now this may be a strange idea, but what if when we go inside the earth, to journey to the center of the earth, Jules Verne style, you know? I feel a lot of people may not know who that is, but he's pretty much some dude who wrote a book called Journey to the Center of the Earth. Jules Verne journeyed to the center of the earth through the permission of his novel and through narrative, through a story. Right now that's the access we have because we can't literally get to the center of the earth. Maybe in the future we have teleportation technology, and this teleportation technology works with some sort of energetic grid that's everywhere, and so for the first time, imagine like the first explorers of teleportation technology, for the first time there's this global issue, right? And imagine in the UN has become, I don't know, evolved like, I don't know, a couple times. Let's say this is very in the future. Imagine a group of just the world leaders debating if they should try out and see, they should put a camera, like imagine a cameraman or something, let's say a drone, okay? And we, for the first time, teleport a drone at the longitude and latitude, or I should say at the center of the earth. That which cannot even be put into locate, like, do you know what I mean? That means it's, how would I say it? Okay, imagine teleportation technology in the future considers that the planet is inside a cube, okay? And we can teleport any point into this cube that, let's say, is surrounding our planet, okay? Let's say we create some sort of, okay, this is too sci-fi, but like, so that teleportation technology that could go anywhere in the cube in which our planet is in, we program it to go to the center of the cube, which would be the center of the planet. That means the one corner of the cube, like imagine one corner of the cube and a straight line being drawn from that cube towards the center of the cube. And it's like the center of the cube and the center of the sphere are the same. But when it comes to edges, it's impossible for a sphere to have an edge, in the sense of, when I say an edge, a sort of angle. Do you know? Like, no, that's the wrong way of saying it. A sphere is not a cube. When a sphere extends outward, it goes everywhere. A cube gets the planes, and the planes narrow down to edges. XYZ axis edges. You know. You know, I also perceive this idea of the archetypes like an alphabet. And the archetypes that one is conscious of, or the archetypes that are active in the moment, those are like the letters of the alphabet we know about, and then the letters of the alphabet that we don't know about or we still haven't created. Because expression is limited to how you receive. it's very obvious that people who are violent on the planet, they have somehow they have received violence. Their eyes have witnessed it to a degree that it's like it's authorized to them. For example, for me right now, it's authorized, like I feel authorized to lift this cup of water in front of me, okay? But I don't feel authorized to slam this cup of water down to the ground and break it for no reason, you know? And let's say somebody, the person forgets. That means, think of it this way: those who are violent and cruel, they have forgotten the order of the world. Not that the world has to have an order, but that chaos can't exist alone. That means I don't know how chaotic creatures or chaotic entities are understanding themselves without order, and how ordered entities are understanding themselves without chaos. Like after some point, good and bad need each other conceptually, right? And if you consider there's a dual filter, that means imagine there's four filters of expression and reception, 4 ways that we can see things expressed and things be received. And reception and expression, that's the human game, by the way. Just our breathing, our biology, everything shows that we're not here to per se immortally endure through one mindset, but we're here to not just experience different states of the body, but different states of the mind. That means it's like right now we're in the era of ageism. In the future, if the mind is considered to be creating time, how can the mind have age? The body can have age, but how could your mind that is creating the concept of time have age? So when we get to that level of the advancement of communication, the advanced communicators of that era, and I feel I'll be around, but the advanced communicators will most likely not nullify ageism, like, yeah, we're eternal, not ignorant of age. We surpassed ageism, not because we forgot our age, because we saw some greater dimensions to it. That means it's as if you have an age of how long your body has existed in the outer realms, but when it comes to your inner realms, the whole point of the ancient terms of old soul and young soul was this: that the inner realm of some moments of being have a familiarity with dimensions of their own. When it comes to communication, I feel incredible familiarity. When it comes to existing as a human being, it goes to points where it's as if it's constantly a discretion of, like, what percentage is the mind moving the body and what percentage is the body moving the mind. The pattern I could say I have observed of my own life is that my mind moves, then my body moves. But my mind moves through the body. So what I mean is that people, think of it this way: if somebody defines knowledge only accessible through language, unless the person is spoken to, they feel they can't learn. Unless they read a book, they feel they can't learn, and endlessly they're going to go seeking information, not realizing that true learning comes when you're trying to answer a colossal question. When you're trying to bring down, like, Lord of the Rings, what was it, the third movie? Lord of the Rings 3, where Theoden King is, like, bringing down those giant mammoths or something. Or that scene where, like, what is it, the elf and the dwarf? Like, Legolas? An elf that plays with Legos and a dwarf that doesn't know where his ego, that his ego is higher than his actual height. So anyways, there's this scene, for those who haven't seen it, I mean, everybody's probably seen it, but like, Legolas runs up, the elf runs up, and one person, like, he takes down a giant mammoth, and the little dwarf is, like, standing there with, like, the dwarf with the big ego. And the dwarf says that only counts as one. Like, they were doing some counting game. I'm totally wrong in this story, but like, anyways. something more important than yourself. That's how energy comes in the outer realms. I don't know how a person can have energy in the outer realms if it's not important for them. Like all those people who feel they're being super spiritual by renouncing physical life. This is like this goes to the extremes of yogic thought. If you don't care for the world, you won't stay in it. At least in this world. And the best way to treat the type of universal experience we find in the Milky Way galaxy when a human being realizes stories are infinite, they have to seek something more than knowledge. When they go to see what's more than knowledge, it's either new ideas the person hasn't heard, or it's an unknown part of the forest that no one's been into. That means there could be ways that our reality is holding itself that we and all of our knowledge so far can't even fathom. It could be that we are accepting too soon our certainty of reality in the cultural program. Because intelligence is the strangest thing. There's nothing stranger than intelligence, just animate activity. That means it's like, even it's stranger than the fear of dismissal from the realm. You see, there's a fear of what's gonna happen after this game of life. And then there's a fear, what did I do in this game of life, right? And that's one thing where I feel like this is where the religious mentality needs to be very careful, those who look at life through the religious lens. Truth is alive, not dead. And if truth is alive, only through a living method one can access it. Every moment of life is it's like the brain is reinventing how the sense of self responded to the world to become a new sense of self. Like it's endless reinvention. I'm telling you, if a person, let's say you're a person who you don't have access to television or a computer or a phone, okay, you can sit down on a park bench, you can sit anywhere and just close your eyes and watch your mind. I do this often. Anytime I have to wait, I'm just present in the moment and I watch my mind. Watch that landscape. And sometimes the one's inner landscape animates based on what's necessary for the moment. That means sometimes strength and ability come due to the significance of the position in the space-time continuum. Like that moment where the Olympian was about to pass the torch to the Olympic runner. Oh, everybody there was like, don't mess it up, you know? In the future, let me tell you what's gonna happen. Olympic torches are just gonna float. They're just one Olympic torch is just gonna, this really advanced technological Olympic torch is just gonna float and nobody can touch it. It has force field protection. And everybody's gonna run trying to capture this Olympic torch, and whoever catches it, let's say there's a reward, but nobody can catch it, I guess. It's just a game. Right? And this random Olympic torch is just flying in the air in the street, and everybody's like, no way, the Olympic torch is passing. You know? You know something? Olympians are like, no, you know, the Olympic torch, you know, surpassed us. You know? Oh, man. The world is changing. The self is in the world. Therefore, the self is ultimately changing. The self, because our minds move faster than our bodies, can change quicker than how the world changes. We can change faster than the world, because if we did, we wouldn't exist in the world. This is the, I don't want to say dangers, but this is something to be cautious of if you're using your mind too fast. It can have dehumanized side effects. You know, that means there's been times where aside from the restoration of the world narrative back into the mystery of the unknown, you know what it is? We are consciously returning to the wild before we actually exit the realm. That means think of all the wilderness in the genetical memory. And it makes no sense, right? It makes no sense why there should be shape in the void. This is one of my biggest questions, where nobody can answer, because anybody, the moment they answer, that's shape. That means it's as mysterious as the shape of the void and void shapes, you know. These are the two big mysteries. One starting with a functioning structure and the other starting with an unknown chaos. I can't tell you how many times in the people who see my artwork here, I'll share, I implement a technique where I randomly sprinkle chaos onto my own paintings. And then I pretty much like sculpt. When I draw, I'm sculpting the empty page, believe it or not. This may sound like a strange thing, but I'm telling you, one day I'm going to dedicate like hours on explaining this technique. But there we go. I think I drew this in 2015. Now let me explain to you some bits of this at least. This is a painting that I drew, which is a mixture of first a trust of an emotion, then an incredible zooming in. That means drawing every part of this picture was like a new experience. It felt like a new finding to me. Chaos is like creation without organization. Order is creation with organization. So anytime consciousness could be in the middle of any chaotic phenomena, the moment consciousness inputs itself into the moment, it has two reference points. That means a reference point where you were outside of the room, and then a reference point inside the room, and then you can know you were inside the room. But if you just started from one reference point inside the room and you never had gone outside of the room, you may never know. You may never know what lies beyond, outside of the room of your eyes. I feel an advanced communicator, an advanced human being is going to be a human being that is going to have contentment with the void. Is going to be a human being that has contentment with singular phenomena. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You see other individuals, you see yourself as an individual, you see the planet as an individual, you see the whole universe as an individual. You know, this is where it's a dimension. It's 1/4. All the beliefs we have been fighting over, they're just corners of a room. People from different corners of a room, imagine, have been throwing, like, I don't know, Halloween candy at each other, you know. So contentment with the void, contentment with the singular, contentment with the dual. Those who don't have contentment with the dual, their behaviors go so out of their conscious domain to a point where back in the day people had to, like, you know, bring a strong narrative to kind of like that's how the concept of exorcism came into place, right? And that's a human being in which the context, their concept is them, but their context is being changed, not changed, but their context is outside of the jurisdiction of their free will. That means it's like a person should care about the space of their body and they should care about the space of their mind. For example, me personally, since childhood, events, like, I block out what I feel doesn't serve me. Because it's as if, imagine, just like, this is a hilarious example, but imagine like a video game. Usually the characters have an inventory. They have like a backpack or something, you know, something where they're carrying items, right? So that backpack has a limited number of spots. Now, a person may feel, I remember everything, you know, I'm like, you know, but I feel in some sense that backpack, you have to choose what ideas are in there. It could, let's say, this is a ridiculous example, just for the sake of example I'm saying this, but imagine your mind had 28 slots. That means you could have 28 different types of thoughts. Okay? And out of these, this is an example, right? Of course, it's not the number is like in the billions, potentially. One can see a few thoughts, one can see so many thoughts, and thoughts being had that are going faster than the speed of light. That means we can't see them. You know? You know, it's not like thoughts aren't there, you know. I feel what it is we've stored light, and thinking is giving off that light, but in a sort of inner atmosphere. So anyways, imagine there was a person had 28 ideas they could choose. Now, out of these 20 ideas, imagine from a spectrum of going from memories in the past to visualizations into the future to whatever you're even looking at in the present before you even, in quotations, think. right? So out of a giant spectrum of all the different types of ways you can look at the moment and the world, you had to choose 28. Now imagine out of that 28, somebody chooses 20 of those thoughts negative. It's like, why? It's like, and the person's like, because culture is saying it's cool, you know? You know what I mean? We should never glorify misery. Because if we do, it becomes literally a hard loop to get out of. That means when people glorify weakness, then there's going to be a confusion of, is glory weak or strong? Anyways, those who are conscious of duality, they can't get touched by it. That means the moment you realize you're not an object, I don't know how the fear of death can make sense. To who? That means every day I'm waking up, not giving these talks per se just for the audience, to figure out the totality, not the totality, the ultimate of sight, the ultimatum of sight. That means for me, it's like it's like even if there is an afterlife, it's bizarre. Even if there isn't an afterlife, it's bizarre, you know? And so it's like this rare opportunity where in the human station, you now have access to, as a multidimensional being, very easily to the resources of a embodied dimension, right? Now, this is where I hope that I'm not, these talks that I'm giving, I'm trying to capture the design angle. That means really my work with society is really in geometry. But I feel there will be so many different human beings who they will begin the era of new, what do you call it? Like, it would be like Romeo and Juliet, or the Eastern version, Layli and Majnun. You know, it would be the story of like legendary lovers, but now animated in a multidimensional context. Right? So it would be as if all of civilization is going to get a multidimensional makeover. And we who are alive now, before it's multidimensional, if we just, excuse my language, but I gotta say, if we just give a shit, anybody can become a pioneer right now. Now is this strange time where it's like you are in a world that's changing. And in a world where history is being recorded, right? I think people that take history, you know, for granted. Because it's like that's the true camera. I don't know what the hell celebrities are doing in California, but the only camera the person should be that is really on is history. The history books, and the only way one can try to go to, let's say, the peak of this mountain is through merit, M-E-R-I-T. And merit means how you manage the effort of your energy as a phenomenon in accordance to your inner realms and outer realms. That means I would say a being is intelligent who they use the outer realms to advance their inner realms, and they use their inner realms to advance the outer realms. They have both of them going. And those are beings who are like, they're birds who are flying with both wings and synchronized. You know? And that's really something that in the future, hopefully they will know how to balance the body's life with the mind's life. That means another challenge of a person, even this is something even philosophers have to be cautious of. that even if you entertain a state of mind that is potentially fathoming what it would be like beyond time, anything that goes beyond time can't be human anymore. That means there could be a huge philosophical debate that the moment a time travels, they are not human. Or let's say all those people who, let's say in the future when time travel, let's say potentially happens, philosophically it can never, but let's say in the future somehow it happens, the time traveler is no longer a human soul, because we can't consider that human. Time travelers can't be human anymore. So that could be a danger of time travel. That means you gotta have a deep love for the earth to be able to entertain landscapes of selflessness and still be here. And if the person has some sort of philosophical system where they're avoiding their responsibility to their species in the outer realms, I feel that's like, it's like a candle that nobody saw. You know? It burnt, it lived, but did anybody see the candle? I feel like going into a poetry tunnel. Guys, I'll tell you an interesting story. In 2016, I found myself in Iran, and I hadn't visited for years, and I went to see all the relatives that I had no clue who they had become. And I found myself one night just going on this writing frenzy. It was the strangest night where I had this notebook, and I remember I just decided to write, just watch my hand write, as much until the ink of the pen ran out, you know? And it was one of the coolest experiences of my life, you know? That means I don't know how many people can say that, you know, that they've written, they've picked up a pen. I mean, granted, I don't know if the pen was full of ink. It was a random pen, but if somebody has held a pen and written as much as they saw the ink completely go away, it's like when you don't expect it, suddenly you hit that finish line. And so I'm going to read those poetry collections, at least a few of those poems for you. And there's one I feel right now. The poetry collection was called Kites of Old. Let me see. So I'm going to open it up to the audience. Let me see how many poems. $33. So the audience can choose between 1 to 33. And I'll read, like, from, these are all poems from this poetry collection, Kites of Old, and I'll read. Let's see which number comes, you know. This is a live stream for a reason, right? You know, I mean, I could have totally been giving this talk with, you know, on my phone. You know, but Okay. Did people choose? Yes, the people have spoken. Yes. Okay. That's too many numbers, guys. Too many numbers. No, I'm joking. Yeah. Okay. Number 7. Let's see what that is. Free Soul Sundays. Yeah, Free Soul Sundays. I don't know. That's the name of the poem. And when did I write this? 2016, August 28. Yeah. Okay, are you, so this is the poem, Free Soul Sundays. Are you burdened by speaking walls, or have deeper thoughts convinced you otherwise? Some nights the tears of wonder show that it was never a human that cried for the transcendence of Earth. If our planet bleeds, we will feel it alongside our many star families. Oh no, excuse me, it's a question. If our planet bleeds, will we feel it alongside our many star families? What inspires a chaotic twist in the simple order of a complex infinity sign? And the infinity sign, yeah. What inspires a chaotic twist in the simple order of a complex infinity sign? Tired bones may make the coffin seem like just another morning coffee, but did you know that you have transcendental breath? Free Soul Sundays is more than just an idea. The God you see is within the eyes of all. Is this mystical poetry a mirror that is too much? Alright, 29. Okay, so Lies, you've given 2 numbers. I'll let you choose one of those. Valerie's chosen 2. Okay, let's go 29 and 11. Let's see, what is that, 29? '29 is called Transcendental Pointers. Once I asked my dentist if he was a transcendentalist. It seemed science had already filled everything in. Can the Zen master no longer be a Zen master to himself? A wise cat was once thrown from a building only to show that with the first life and 4 reality was eternal. A wise cat was once thrown from a building only to show that with the first life and 4 reality was eternal. Okay, I think it's missing a line there. Don't keep the new catastrophes around like trophies. The health of life is beyond death. Who is writing this poem? Perhaps I forgot to tell you, it is all existence. Okay, number 11. Guys, these yawns are yawns of enlightenment. Yawning in the void for truth, you know? The yawn has come, you know? Okay, at number 11, let me see. Charmed by horseless chariots. That's the name of the poem. How could thought... Okay, let me choose a different song. Charmed by horseless chariots, how could thought turn into a geometrical vehicle that transcends a character in an endless story? What has made the book envy the bookmark? Do you know lovers are made of broken truth that can stand in the same room? The bliss of being is a great allowance, thought through cosmic trust. For once fractals become wild horses, destiny is ridden faster than galaxies could turn to see. Do not be deceived by false embezzlements of saintly orders. Look at the word saint until you see the flow that was its own mistake. We are all free in the depth of the ocean's drop. When skies become eye sockets, giants will realize they are smaller than God. You are your own stargate. Look at life beyond the chariots of DVD covers. Guys, sometimes in these poems, I try to keep something about culture alive in. This is like pointing to the film Stargate here, implying it. And I'll choose one for myself and I'll get back to the topic. 17 is ringing at me. Let me see. 17. This poem might make me feel young again, you know. You know, it's like an eternal being trying to feel young, you know. Modern shamanic temptations. Has a plant made you forget you are part of this planet? Or has it reminded you that you are the universe? Many flames have guided the lost to the founder of God. There is no puzzle to solve, just open your heart of hearts. For the chest that kept treasure made all think the outside was not to be treasured. Let love speak first. Then all of creation shall become heaven's arrow. You know, that's the greatest challenge of my life. To completely get rid of not hate, like you can't hate the outer realms after some point because the outer realms don't know better. And it just comes to the inner realm, and in the inner realms a person can rage. That means a person in the outer realms, when they get angry, they're just holding it in. They don't let even their face to show it. You know, they hold their anger in. You know, but in their inner realms, they could be completely like, like grabbing the Eiffel Tower like a gauntlet and like destroying cities out of rage. You know what I mean? You know. Okay. What else can be said? If the mind is reinventing itself in the space-time continuum, that means for your body is in, let's say, one space-time continuum, but your mind is in multiple interpretations of the same space-time continuum. So that means in front of our eyes, we exist, we have one biological, one individual body. Behind our eyes, all our memories, we had a body in them. We had a world in them. So there's the sense of selfhood. So behind your eyes, you can be the world, the self, beyond, and based on how your heart has, what your heart has beaten for, you have inner access. So, building a civilization where there's multidimensional minds. So, I don't know, I think it's kind of like a V shape where an object has a relationship with an unknown force, and a subject has a relationship with an unknown force, and for that unknown force, unknown witness, it has two eyes that see the same. The object and the subject are two dimensions that are like two eyes, where a creature is a timeless being is seeing itself in time. So that means the Iron Man suit is at least obvious. We don't know what's in the Iron Man suit, but we know the Iron Man suit. Right? And there's a linguistic Iron Man suit, and then there's a genetical one that can't be ignored. So my body, like my biological existence, is like, okay, there's energy, and it appears as an antenna. What can you do with energy and antenna? You can only share. Like, I don't know. I don't know what else an antenna can do. An antenna can just receive things and express it back, or hold it in until the last day, and then be like, I had a dream, at the last moment, rather than beginning early, right? And that would be the strategy for the future generations, to be so ahead of us that our problems will not be their problems. That's why I had to evoke multidimensionality. There would be no reason if everything was smooth. If humanity was evolving efficiently, I wouldn't need to come and make it multidimensional. If duality was efficient, but duality has failed itself, at least for the human framework. That means you stay dual. It's easy to love and hate the world any moment. You can love and hate anything, and then then you lose the truth. And so let's divide the sentence I've written here, rekindling a new archetypal honor, from honor with relationships. So imagine there was a wall between the word archetypal and honor in the title. Yeah, guys, this I accidentally added on mute. I was just saying, we look at the concept of rekindling a new archetype, that through the shamanic angle, being a ritual being a self-authorization being something new the person is doing. So if the person does something new, they have to it be a new archetype. That has to become a new archetype, and it's like old world views are being recycled for new ones. And so it's like being aware of your mind's life and being aware of your body's life, right? For example, we have to honor our physical relationships, you know, or in regards to our health, for example. And then there's also honoring the greater effort. That means it's like the person has a body, and then they're like, yeah, okay, the meaning of life is to be a body, to remain to see how far this natural roller coaster goes, nature's roller coaster goes. But when it comes to the mind, that's like, it's like, what am I going to use the body for, right? And that's where the person has to make a choice. And people, they don't go that, just like the saying, go big or go home. People, they go home. They're living for only themselves and their families, and it doesn't make sense, right? Because it's arbitrary. That means, of course, there's genetical, like, relevance, but it's like the notion of personhood is arbitrary. That means we should never forget that the world is actually always silent. Even we speak, it's silence. The silence doesn't go anywhere. Our voices are temporary. There has been more silent in the universe even than our voices. You know, if a person cares for the context of their life, I feel they will be automatically, they will find, not automatically, but they will eventually find the right concept. Can you imagine somebody says, this is a hilarious, okay, I should stop the previews, like, imagine somebody says, I love my sight at first sight. So love at first sight, at first sight. you know, the being loves sight, loves a phenomenon. Imagine. And if we even entertain the antenna thing, the type of self you are will suggest the archetypes you have access to. That means if somebody does something cruel, then when they see like other people doing something cruel, they can recognize that archetype in them. It's this is strange, but this is something I'm saying in honor of the scholar Terence McKenna, but it's like all of life is a giant universal hallucination. It's as if living is tunneling through various ways you're a self to the world, to a point where it's like, how long can the language be, like the language can never be accurate after some point. This is why the sociologist may laugh at the mystic, the psychologist may laugh at the mystic, the scientist may laugh at the mystic, but the philosopher doesn't. Because if the philosopher laughs at the mystic, the philosopher is laughing at himself. And in some sense, the mystic is not even there. The mystic is like, this is the hilarious thing, the person was so enlightened, it's like there was no person anymore to be enlightened. It's like, it was just light being. I think if we treat our memories as a sort of alphabet of a humanized alphabet, an alphabet of humanhood, an archive of all the ways we have experienced being a human, being a creature, being in the space-time continuum, and how much we're going to choose to allow the environment to define the inner environment, and the inner environment to define the outer environment. If right now, let's say 80% of the population lets 80% their inner environment say their outer environment, that means people go the easy way out. They're like, anarchy, yeah, who cares? We're here for a little while. I mean, you know, it's like, what's the big deal? 99.9. My local scientist told me 99.9% of species go extinct. You know, and that 1% is us who hasn't. We don't know if we're going to go extinct or not. Extinction is like the species' exit. If 80% they are more in their inner realms than outer realms, there will be chaos. If 80 realms are in their outer realms and their inner realms, it would be boring. So we're literally between, like, oscillating. Civilization is oscillating between like stale boredom, you know, and I don't know, uncontrollable chaos. And I see no way out of suffering other than adding a dimension. That means, who said in the void a person cannot add a dimension to the void? One maybe is not able to take away dimensions. Maybe someone experiences something and they can't not see what they saw, you know? You know? So some dimensions you can't take away, but you can move your attention away from. That means some memories, it's not like a person forgets, it's a person flies into a different part of their inner forest, their inner landscape. The era of piloting attention and a new universal restoration through collective exploration. That means humanity has to make up its mind. Either we are living arbitrarily for ourselves and yeah, we have free will, this abstract idea, or we are actually creatures of the same species and we need to start acting like it. You know? So this is the choice. We hide in our inner realms, and in a stable society, I mean, who doesn't like stealth? Reality is honestly where we start drawing the picture from. And this is why language, I'm saying, has a hollowness to it, and really true knowledge is experiential. 100%. That means it's as if like the difference between someone who hasn't skydived and someone who has. The person who hasn't skydived could be like, it's super easy, you know? And then they go up there and it's not easy. But the person who skydived is not just entertaining reality based on just arbitrary observation. Because here's the thing, think of the mind just creates endless probabilities, then you, in accordance to your free will and how you choose to move your attention, activate, bring just like an inventor invents something, you bring into the outer realms the animation of your choice in of the unknown viewer of your mindscape. Lies That Bind says language belongs to the outer. Language is an inner phenomena. You know, that means that you can't, like in the sense of an idea, at least. That means unless, I don't know, you can grab mouth sound in there. I don't know. Language is a simulation, is an overlay, is a film on a film. It's like a V. It's like the unknown witness is the point, and from one side you see your inner realms, and one side you see your outer realms. And then it's like you gotta implement the yin yang. That means in a physical world, be a little bit non-physical. Okay, and in a completely non-physical realm, be a little bit physical. You know, that's why I'm saying in the inner realms, at least, like the sort of smallest body one can have is like a geometric shape, at least. Language is like, if there was a matrix screen for 2020, all the thoughts in our mind are just stories. Everything is functioning through a story. This is why mysticism is the ultimatum of the educational system. Because we have no choice. There's a dead end when we just try to arbitrarily create language. We have to create a new alphabet, a new approach, one where freedom and discipline are synchronized. And a civilization of skill. You know, I thought of what if there were in the future helpful cultures, and I'm like, what would that look like? What would a helpful culture look like? Because culture is like a machine. That means, like, let's say a person turns on TV and they are introduced to multiple storylines when they turn on the TV, right? So those narratives are from a certain cultural framework. Now, moving beyond the room of culture, that means the person is in different rooms, let's say. Imagination is a room. Let's say that's your inner room. Sensory perception is your outer room. Then there's the room of how you are a creature in front of the mirror, then how you're a creature in front of others, then how you're a creature in front of society, then how you are a creature in front of your species, your civilization, and then going up to a point where we're like, all right, we got this. You know, we realized we were the universe quicker than expected because time was the illusion. Yeah. So anyways, guys, thanks for listening. I'll end the talk here. Namaste. In a little bit, I'll be on Discord as well for those interested. Blessings. And find an honor of what your eyes truly deserve. You know, candles in a dark room. You know, that's wisdom for you. Namaste.